as the 5-2 morning line favorite for Friday's Kentucky Oaks. And the featured race today, it is the Isaac Murphy Marathon. Lone Rock has been rolling in these marathon races. He's the odds-on favorite. Just outside Champions Lounge, the Gold Room balcony, Joe Christopher and Scott Shapiro joining you for a Tuesday afternoon. Scott, it is Champions Day. It is officially Derby week. Had the post position draw yesterday, an electric atmosphere. The Aristides Lounge was absolutely packed. Day by day by day by day till we get to Oaks and Derby Day.
We're getting there. We're getting there. All past performances have been drawn all the way through Derby Day. Tons of work to be done for all the handicappers out there. Incredible job by the racing office led by Ben Huffman on those Friday and Saturday cards. And these next 3 days are no chop liver. Looking forward to it. And won't get back on the newly renovated turf course today, but hopefully later in the week.
Let's send it to the third member of our team, Caitlin Free, standing by in the paddock. Caitlin, great to have you back. We talked about the Oaks draw, the Derby draw. We're going to take a closer look at those races with you right now. Welcome.
Excited to do it, Joe. Super happy to be back with you guys for the Oaks and Derby week. Plenty of other stuff going on this week. As you mentioned, today is Champions Day, and as you can see, I am in pink. The theme of the Champions Day this year is ladies in racing. So we'll definitely talk a little bit more about that later. But speaking of pink, let's go ahead and take a look at horses in the Oaks field and go ahead and take a look at that draw one more time. I know you guys talked pretty extensively about the draw already since you were at the draw show yesterday. Some of our heavy favorites in here, the big four, the four-headed monster, as I like to call them, Secret Oath in the 1. The favorite, the number 4, Nest, morning line favorite, 5-2, as well as 7, Echo Zulu. And if you turn the page, you're going to have the other favorite, the one I thought would maybe be the morning line favorite, the 10, Kathleen O, in the 10 spot. And, you know, these 4 fillies are going to be really, really tough to beat, but there is another one that I'm really, really keen on in this race. Definitely talk a little bit more about her later, but that's the 13, Shahama, coming in from Dubai. I know the Dubai and the Maiden bounce is kind of a thing, but she's carried more weight than all these fillies. She's ran faster than all these fillies. Going a little bit longer than all these fillies. She's already ran past the Oaks distance, so I know she's going to get the distance. She's going to be getting a little bit of a weight break, and it doesn't hurt to have Flavian Pratt on board. Just something to think about. This is one of the deepest runnings of the Kentucky Oaks I have ever seen. Let's go ahead and take a look at horses for the Kentucky Derby presented by Woodford Reserve. Deep field here of 20. This is one of the only 20 horse fields of the Derby we've seen in the past couple years. There's been a couple of late scratches recently. I believe Justify was the last Derby winner that had a field of 20 to contend with. Just going to talk briefly about the 7, Crown Pride, the Japanese hope, coming in by way of Maiden and Dubai as well. I'm sure as you heard, when the Connections drew the post 7, when Crown Pride drew that post, it's because in Japanese culture, the number 7 is a very lucky and special number. It signifies the 7 deadly sins, the 7 wonders of the world, the 7 seas, the 7 days a week, and so on. And oh, by the way, the Kentucky Derby is run this year on May 7th. So that means something to them if you're looking for a lucky horse, or maybe, you know, just kind of a play on names or going by luck. Crown Pride could be that horse. I don't think he's in without a chance. There's a flip back of the rest of the runners, 11 through 20. Pioneer Medina drew in a couple of days ago, of course, as well as Ethereal Road drawing that tough post number 20, but happy to see them in the race. And you have the AEs, Rich Strike and Row and Roll, should they draw in. But we still have plenty more to come with Derby and Oaks. We have the morning work show still coming up as well. A couple more days left of that. I know you, Joe, Scott, and Brandon will be there from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. tomorrow. Most of our Oaks and Derby horses have completed their final works, but there's still going to be plenty more days to see them drilling on the track as well as schooling here in the paddock. Back up to you guys.
All right. Thanks, Caitlin. Yeah, expecting plenty of schoolers today, Scott. We've seen these horses in the morning on the work show. A couple of more days of that for us to make our final determinations, final selections. I know we're on the hook for those on Thursday's morning work show. But Caitlin went through the draws there. Anything stand out to you in the Oaks draw and the Derby draw?
Well, she mentioned Shahama, who's a horse that I know we both had our eye on as well. that big white blaze has looked good in the mornings, has never lost. That post is a little bit concerning. James Scully talked about it this morning on the morning work show. Going to be a little bit tough from that outside draw with her kind of running style. She's going to have to get out of the gate, or she's going to just have to break slowly again and save some ground. When it comes to the Kentucky Derby, I think most horses drew favorably. Even Mo Donegal, who drew the rail, I know you like a lot. I don't think that's that bad of a post like it is oftentimes.
Could be a little tricky for Epicenter, but he breaks so well, and he's going to go forward. It'll be interesting to see into the first turn with those speed horses on the outside of him, how many of them actually cross over on him. We saw him in the pocket in the Louisiana Derby.
But he has the early speed if they want. I mean, if they want to be kind of, I don't want to say passive, but if they want to let horses cross in front of them like that, sure, it could get, a little bit claustrophobic in there, as you like to say. But he's got enough natural speed to really just get into a good spot. Maybe let a couple like Classic Causeway and Summers Tomorrow go ahead of him and then just sit perfectly. I know I've heard a lot of people say he's a loser. Sure, he would have rather been probably further outside, but I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Speaking of the 20-horse starting gate and Mo Donegal, who drew the rail, not as disadvantageous to draw one of the inside posts as it used to be. As we take a look at the old starting gate, Scott, with the auxiliary gate on the outside, if you're in the one hole, you're basically running right into the rail. We've had the new 20-horse starting gate for a couple of years now, and it leaves a lot more room on the inside than we've seen in previous years.
I think that was looking at Lucky, perhaps, the favorite, getting bumped around. I'm not sure exactly, but you saw what a disadvantage it was here. Normal, you're running straight in the inside. Sure, there's a better chance of getting caught in a tricky spot, but it's a fair chance for the horse on the inside. And a horse like Mo Donegal has already proven that he can win with an inside trip. He did so in the Wood Memorial. It might be trouble, but it could work out absolutely perfect with Irad Ortiz Jr.
All right, Scott, 9 race car. Going to be a lot of Derby and Oaks talk over the course of the next few days. Looking forward to the next couple of mornings on the Morning Work Show presented by Twin Spires. $30,000 maiden claimers in the opener. Pick 5 wagering available here. Mile and a 16th the distance. 50-cent minimum, 15% take on the pick 5s here at Churchill Downs. And you landed on the number 4 in this $30,000 maiden claimer for the females. And that is Early Rose for Eddie Keneally and Luis Saez.
Yeah, this is a horse that belongs at this level, has raced at the $30,000 level in 3 starts at Fairgrounds. And Eddie Keneally, he's been hot. He had a very good Keeneland meet over his last 90 days, 24% with a 229 ROI, and that's 70 starters, so not a limited sample. Luis Saez won a bunch of races with him at Keeneland, and I think this horse sits a very nice trip just off the early pace. A couple of horses in here, including Freudian, that usually run their race but kind of struggle to finish the deal, so I'm hoping Luis Saez can stalk early and finish him late.
Stretching out for just the second time in her career is Candy Wrapper Crazy for Phil Bauer. Had a terrible trip in the most recent start. Was in tight, was checked before the turn, was in hand, was tugging, remained inside, and wasn't really ridden to the wire and finished 5th in that sprint. Now stretching out after showing speed in a couple of recent sprints. One of those on an off track where she ran 3rd 3 starts ago with an apprentice rider aboard, a very capable one, and a 7-pound bug break in the weights. I see an opportunity for a gate-to-wire score.
Pick for second, should be loose on the lead. Familiar with this horse at Oaklawn. Definitely underwhelmed me in some of those starts, but definitely had trouble. Could take to the liking. One thing I wanted to talk about, courtesy of Horse Racing Nation, that has a great shippers report that I would often refer to. Great information there. Horses that shipped into Keeneland from Oaklawn Park were 4 for 71 at the spring meeting for an ROI of minus 79%. If you go back to last year on opening week at Churchill Downs, they were 6 for 48 with a negative 36% ROI. And I think it makes sense. We hear a lot about how running at Oaklawn Park, good purses, quality racing, but a little bit hard on the horses. So it makes sense when they ship out that maybe they wouldn't be at their best.
Great points, and a lot of those horses wind up being overbet, and thus even more so of a reason why they have such a negative return on investment. This one's 5-1 in the morning line. I don't know if you'll get it, but the chance to stretch out and go.
No, you make a great point. You don't need to use that on a 12-1 shot or even a 5-1 shot. But if you're between horses or there's a favorite, if they win sometimes, they're just not an overall good investment.
All right, race number 2 is actually our feature today. It's the Isaac Murphy Marathon. Let's send it back down to Caitlin Free. Caitlin, a compact field, but the horse in there that's been a specialist over the marathon distances as of late, and that's Lone Rock.
Yes, one of the best marathon dirt horses we've seen in quite some time, Lone Rock. He's just torn this division up. Figures to be a pretty short price today as well. Let's go ahead and take a look at the rest of that field in that race. There's a good view right here. This race named, of course, in honor of Hall of Fame jockey and 3-time Kentucky Derby winning rider Isaac Murphy. Short field here, as you mentioned, only a field of 5. Lone Rock installed as your 3-5 morning line favorite. But I'm going to go against the grain a little bit here in this race, and I definitely want to try to make some money because I think Lone Rock's going to be even shorter than that. So I took a little bit of a stab with Tenfold, morning line 5-2. I know Lone Rock's beaten up on him, a few times as of late, and it's been a while since he's seen the winner's circle. But even if he finishes second, I feel like I can, make a little bit of the money back that I would have seen with Lone Rock potentially going off around 1-5, 2-5, something like that. I think 3-5 may be, almost an overlay at this point, but definitely a deep but short field coming up in the Isaac Murphy Marathon, and a fantastic time to be honoring such a pioneering jockey in our sport on Kentucky Derby Week. One of the best things he ever accomplished in the sport was winning 3 derbies. Back to you guys.
All right, thanks, Caitlin. It's been a long time between drinks of water for Tenfold. 22-race losing streak. He's still a millionaire, though, and against Joel Rosario for Steve Asmussen, a jockey-trainer combination that we're going to see a lot this coming week. Scott, Lone Rock, I tried to maybe beat him. I thought the horse that could do it, maybe Current for Brittany Vandenberg, who has only had a couple of tries lifetime on the main track, but ran huge at Hawthorne last out, beating an odds-on favorite for Grant Forrester and Treasury. And the only 2 times this horse had run on the main track previous to that last out at Hawthorne, the Kentucky Jockey Club and the Florida Derby.
Current, like many in this field, has some back class, but may be turning the corner here. 2 of the last 3. I thought he had a better chance of springing the upset than Tenfold. And, we go here and we rattle off Oaklawn Park stats, and then we both land on a 1-5 shot that's coming from Oaklawn.
Almost picked
I
Current.
wanted to. This,
almost did.
He's going to have to really not run his race. He's running Lone Rock 3 for 6 here at Churchill with 2 seconds, 4 for 5 at the distance. It's not exciting. He just looks like he towers over this field.
Yeah, he certainly does. Again, as Caitlin mentioned, likely to go off at lower than those 3-5 morning line odds, but it's tough to install a horse less than 3-5 in the morning line in a stakes race in particular. Race number 3, non-winners at 2 for 20 here, Scott. 6.5 furlongs the distance over a muddy main track. Again, off the turf at Churchill here today. You landed on number 6 here in race number 3, and that is Rasada, who I kind of went back and forth on. The 2 main track races, not so good. Maybe an excuse last time out. The 2 better races on synthetic. Maybe this horse will like the mud today.
Gets off the rail, drops in class, brutal trip in the last. Hopeful this horse doesn't get overbet because of it. It was checking badly, breaking from the inside. Everything went wrong, but didn't do that much running. The winner of the race was a dominant winner in Mercy Warren, who ran off and won by over 7 lengths. I just think this is a softer spot for sure. And also, I like to move from an outside post to an inside post, but I'm using multiple horses here in my horizontal wagers.
For a starter 50, that was a very weak race at Keeneland, and the horse that was supposed to win did, and she dominated. The only other dirt race at Churchill was the career debut against Maiden 30s. Didn't run all that well. A horse that I'm going to be trying to beat, and I agree with Scott, there's a few different ways you can go in this race. I went with the number 7 as a top selection. I think I'm going to get a decent enough price on this one as well. Connections that did have a win on opening night here at Churchill Downs and Gennaro Garcia and Southwest Racing Stable of Steve Lewis. Look at the 2 races at Keeneland and Churchill on the main track, going 7 furlongs on the 1-turn mile, second to Gowanna K, and third behind Sensation. Tried a couple of races at Turfway, didn't go all that well on the synthetic. Gennaro said, you know what, I know this horse is pretty good at Churchill. Let's rest her up. Let's put her in a 20-9-2. Fits this race extremely well with Gabriel Saez aboard. I'll go with Bertrada. 9-2 I think would be more than fair.
Lone win, 17-length win in a 6-horse field at 3-5 at Mountaineer, gone a mile. A better chance to hit the board perhaps than my top selection. Not a better chance to win the race. 1 for 14. 4 seconds and 2/3. I'd place a wager online of some on here, but I do think you have a better chance to get second or third, so the finishing better thing isn't really a good wager. But,
all right.
yeah.
I'm tired.
Well, I'm trying to wake you up.
No, this is great. No, this is fantastic. I mean, the live racing stuff is definitely rejuvenating, especially the Derby City 6, Scott. We've got a carryover pool in there. We're going to talk about the race first, and then we're going to take a look at the particulars of the Derby City 6. $50,000 claimer fillies and mares, 7 furlongs the distance, and I think there might be a potential single in here, but we beg to differ just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think Regal Retort's a 6-5 favorite, and your top pick makes a ton of sense. Has not been close to the lead against better, but normally horses on the class drop can get, show a little more speed, but going to need to in this race because I don't see a lot of early speed. So Joel Rosario likely to give himself the best chance with a little bit of an aggressive ride from the inside. I went to Recorded, who I think will be on the lead. I mentioned not a lot of speed. The only horse I could see being on the lead otherwise, unless someone really tries to take a horse out of their normal running lines, is Dance Rhythms, and he missed the break. Missed the break last time out and isn't necessarily a speed ball. And Recorded last time out was out sprinted to the lead, ended up running a pretty good third, losing by just half a length. 4 for 12 over this racetrack, a more favorable outside draw, had an inside trip last time out.
She woke up last time. She hadn't run well in several starts. It was a game performance to the wire after an advantageous catbird seat trip behind the odds-on favorite Short Summer Dress. Talked about this, Scott, the way things are in the claiming game right now, horses are running at least a level above where they belong. This is more like a $30,000 claimer to me. Short Summer Dress won that race for $50,000. I look at a horse like Regal Retort. I think she is worth every bit of $50,000. That's where she's at. She was fourth in an optional, claiming 2 other than at Keeneland last out behind a very speedy performer in Tis Splendid News, who went gate to wire, had a little bit of a claustrophobic trip, was 6 wide on the turn that day. Any of the top 3 in that race, Tis Splendid News, Honorifique,
yeah,
and Liberty MD would blow the doors off this field. So I just think Regal Retort probably a free space here.
Free square. Three for 7 over and off track, too, which doesn't hurt.
Yeah, and she's got the rail.
Easily the most likely
7
winner.
furlong success.
I'm just hoping to get the jump on her. That's it.
Let's take a look at the particulars. Derby City 6. Again, let's see what happened on Saturday night. Scott, a pretty nice payout considering there was 2 4 to 5 shots and an even money. Moondog, tough to get to. Richie's Great Girl, tough to get to. But those, in a lot of people's estimations, could have kind of sort of been spread races.
The 7th race definitely was a spread race for me. I did not get to the Tim Gleishaw training 2 turf start, but made some sense. Got a real nice ride from Rafael Bejarano, who won 2 races with prices from off the pace. I think Richie's Great Girl 10-1, a little bit tough to get to because I do think there was a horse that a lot of people singled in there, and then there was kind of a second tier of horses, a couple of horses that look like the logical ones to possibly spring the upset. So the Larry Ravelli charge probably helped separate with over $2,700.
Carryover pool, $5,555, Scott. Fives are wild. And again, mandatory payout on Derby Day. That is an important distinction. No matter how high the carryover goes, Kentucky Derby Day, we will have a mandatory payoff. You've got a ticket. How'd you build it?
Yeah, just a $16 investment, minimal carryover. I think there's a little bit more possibilities for my ticket to pay more than it would have if I would have hit it on opening night, but didn't go too deep here. Leading on 2 singles, Jeeper, my best bet of the day. We'll talk about in a little while for trainer Keith DeSormo, second start off the layoff, and then nighttime in the race washed off the turf. The second of those 2 races washed off the lawn. I think, anywhere near back to the efforts he had last year is coming in off a layoff, but, there's some turf horses in there. There's a horse named Verb that runs his race a lot but struggles to win, so I think nighttime, a relatively short price single. And then I'm spreading. Race 5 is where I hope to catch a price in there. And then race 6, I'm against the 2 morning line favorites using the next two logicals, hoping to get to race 9 where I have 4 options, just a minimal $16 investment.
Yeah, you could hit it for $16 if your 2 singles win, or this could be utilized as a foundation ticket. Again, $5,555. Fives are wild in the carryover pool in the Derby City 6 starting at race 4. Race 5, pick 5 wagering available in this one off the turf, Scott. Important distinction as well. The 1 mile turf race is a 2-turn race, 1-turn mile on the currently rated muddy main track. Where'd you go?
Well, I'm against number 9, Milfoy here. That's my number 1 way of playing this race. Just a horse that, we saw this horse in the Kentucky Oaks last year, a real well-bred daughter of Curlin. They've that's disappointed big time in 2 starts since then, or at the start of this year, losing at 3-5 and then 1-5 in subsequent starts. Last time out over the offgoing, didn't have a perfectly clean trip at Keeneland in a 2-turn 1-mile race there, but had every shot and was turned away by a horse that's really struggled to win races in long pants required. So I think this is a horse that, while listed at 4-1 on the morning line, with the scratches, I'm expecting to go off, and the back class go off as the favorite in here. I landed on number 11, Lalo Maiden, one a Kenny McPeak charge. The other one was scratched out of here. You go back to 3 starts ago, June 20th of last year at Churchill Downs, the last time this one, and the only time this one, in fact, raced over the main track. And it was a pretty solid effort. The winner played hard, wired out the field. A nice runner that came back to win for Phil Bauer and Rigney Racing. Lalo Makendo skimmed the rail to get up for second in that spot. And I just don't think there's a lot of high-quality dirt form in here. So I'm going to try Lalo Makendo. Hopefully, I don't know, 12-1 on the line with the scratches. Hopefully we can get half that.
I triple scratched into Millefeuille. I'm not happy about it, but I mean, I think now she's the most likely winner of this race. An alum from the Kentucky Oaks last year. I agree with you. Last time out, didn't have the greatest of start. She was pinched out in the first turn. She was in tight between horses. She was held up on the second turn. She ran second to Long Pants Required, who, like you said, has had difficulty winning races, but she got away in the short stretch that particular day. So Millefeuille for me, but like I said, not thrilled about scratching into that one. Let's take a look at race number 6, pick 4 wagering available as we tap on the gas pedal here. Maiden claiming 36 furlongs the distance, Scott, and you landed on the number 2, Teo for Steve Asmussen and Joel the $ Rosario.
Difficult race. One thing to keep in mind with those Oaklawn Park numbers that I mentioned, I think if you give your horse some time off, it would help, because the theory is that it's hard on the horses. They probably need some time off. Steve Asmussen, one of the best trainers to ever train horses, basically, at this point, gave this horse time off, drops in class, cuts back, 21% maiden to maiden claiming for in a 274 race sample size. Joel Rosario aboard. Going to need to come from off the pace to run this field down at the 6 furlong distance, but I do think the pace should be pretty honest.
I'm over the 4 here. Lunar Rocket, who's back on just 13 days rest, second off the claim. Very well spotted by Don Habib after a narrow miss, third beat in the neck last out, had a 3-wide trip over a fair playing racetrack, had aim late, was simply outfinished by Lapis Lazuli that particular day. Rafael Bejarano riding in fine form at a riding double on opening night. Let's move on to race number 7. This is 1.25 miles. Again, we showed you that 20-horse starting gate will be in play again here. Purse $120,000. Thank you, Derby City Gaming, for this maiden special weight 3 and older. And Scott, an intriguing race, but we landed on the same horse.
I really like Jeeper today. I liked Jeeper last time and didn't get the job done, but had a legitimate excuse going 7 furlongs. Got out of the gate well and then checked real badly. Ended up last, made a huge middle move before kind of tiring, understandably, finishing third.
Yeah.
And clearly, Keith DeSormo, a very patient trainer, thinks this one probably in the end is a 2-turn horse. He did the same thing last year, 1 turn to start, 7 panels, stretch back out then to 2 turns. Now he sees this 1.25 mile race where a lot of these horses are horses that struggle to win races going shorter. The trainers, I think, enter them at the 1.25 mile, hoping that the added ground for kind of plotty runners leads to that first career win in these maiden races. We saw one of these on Saturday for the ladies. But to me, Jeeper, the more talented horse, that race under his belt, I think Jeeper wins this race, and hopefully we get 3-1.
This horse is going to get bet down. You get 2 for the price of 1. Cyberknife is in the running lines. He barely lost to Cyberknife at Fairgrounds. Rocket Dog, who a lot of people were talking up following that maiden win. Third last out. We all saw the trouble. The only hole I'm going to poke here is this horse has complete sprint pedigree. Overanalyzed out of a Go Zapper mare, very sprinty female family, but has already run well at 1 1/16, and I just think is the most talented horse in the field.
Keith knows. He knows.
Yeah, he knows.
He's not running 1.25 miles if he doesn't think the horse can get 2 turns.
I'm just don't plan on getting 7-2 or.
Well, I mean, there's some horses that could take money in here, but yeah,
there is the Top Fletcher,
Pioneering Spirit for sure will take a little bit of money. Deputy Connect for Brad Cox will take some money. So, yeah, 3-1 hopefully.
I'll give
You're
you
not
5.
buying
I'll
it.
give you 5-2 right now.
You'll give me it? It's your top pick?
I'll give you 5-2 because the horse is, well, no, I don't want to give you 5-2. Again, my brain is only operating at 85% capacity. So we'll move on. We'll revisit this a little bit later on as we take a look at race number 8 off the turf, 5.5 furlongs, N2X. Claiming price $62,500. Again, the main track onlys look pretty solid here, including Nighttime coming off the bench. He ran some huge races last year.
I mean, he ran second to Bo Liam. He missed Aloha West by a nose. He
Breeders'
lost
Cup
to Answer
sprint winner.
In.
Yeah.
He won in Saratoga in a race where I know the barn liked him that day off a little bit of a layoff. This is a solid animal against a not so solid field because of the race coming off the turf. Verb hopefully will take a little money. I think Nighttime, if he runs back at all to those efforts last year, is going to be one tough customer at probably odds on.
Yeah. Aloha West won the Breeders' Cup Sprint. Bo Liam at the end of the year last year, everybody thought that he was one of the top sprinters in the country, so I agree with you 100%. Dale Romans with Nighttime and doing a little bit of a rain dance earlier this morning, and it certainly worked. Nighttime for Scott and I in race number 8. Let's move on to the 9th and final $20,000 claimer for the fillies and mares. Mile and a 16th is the distance here, Scott. A few different ways you can go. You landed on the number 1, Kimberly Dream, here at 12-1 in the morning line. Rene Diaz got a lot of mounts on opening night. He's got a lot of mounts today, some of them seemingly live. We don't see apprentice riders do that great here at Churchill Downs very often. Edgar Morales
yeah.
a few years ago.
Right.
But Rene Diaz is a rider that I expect to be in the top 10.
Yeah, part of Santos Inc. and a guy that Tom Amos uses. A lot of trainers seem to trust him, and he's done a good job so far. I see a lot of pace in this race, so I wanted to look to a horse from off the pace and landed on Kimberly Dream, 3 for 11 over this racetrack. Freddie Winston, just one horse here. He's 3 for 11 at Churchill as well. Kimberly Dream, so a lot of attention for Freddie to this horse. Going to be a big price and should be able to save ground throughout under the apprentice with the weight break.
All right, race number 9. I went with the 4 on top here. And again, a few different ways you can go. Stroll in the Bayou. And I know this horse looks like a turf horse. 10 lifetime wins, but 5 of those on grass, 3 on synthetic, 1 on a wet track, 1 on a fast dirt track. And this horse did run fairly well in that sloppy track race on January the 15th at Fairgrounds, finishing 4th that particular day. So Stroll in the Bayou. I think at 4-1 in the morning line is worth taking a shot with. Brian Hernandez Jr. rides this horse well. She's a little bit of a tricky horse to ride. And Greg Foley on opening night with 2 wins seems to be primed for a big early part of this meet. We've seen the stat that the Foley barn does well in the early stages of the Churchill Spring meet over the course of the last several years.
Yeah, the only concern is the 0-for-3 record over the main track at Churchill. You mentioned the turf horse, but has a little bit of dirt for him as well. Brian will know that there's a lot of speed signed on, so he won't be overly aggressive with a horse that has shown the ability to settle just off the pace.
All right, so we got a little bit of time left on Churchill Downs today. It is Women in Racing Symposium in the Aristides Lounge. Barbara Banke is here. Jamie Roth is here. Jockey Jessica Pfeiffer is here. Trainer Helen Pitts is here. And standing by with a very special guest now is Caitlin Free, who does a couple of different jobs in the sport of horse racing that make her a very intriguing individual. Caitlin, who you got down there?
I have Farron Peterson down here with me, and as you guys mentioned, we have the Women in Racing Symposium today for our Champions Day. And Farron, the theme for this year, of course, is Ladies in Racing. You're joining some other very powerful women within this industry today at the symposium, but you're one of a kind in the sport of thoroughbred racing, a jockey and a veterinarian. How do you juggle 2 incredibly serious professions all at once?
Well, I think when your passion is driving it, it gives you the energy to get through the day. I'm always excited to wake up in the morning at the crack of dawn, before the crack of dawn really, 5 a.m. we're at the track. On my dark days, I'm doing veterinary work, and I just love it. The more I can be around horses and interact with them, the happier I am.
Back to some other women who are a force in this industry. Your partnership with trainers Sarah Hamilton has been great so far this year. I know you two are really, really good friends as well. What can you tell me about your relationship with her?
Well, I really admired her from the start. Her work ethic reminds me of my own. I remember coming out here at the end of the fall and seeing her galloping all of her own racehorses. She only had 1 hot walker, 1 groom. She was doing everything else. It was a one-woman show, it seemed like. And then I've watched her continue developing and growing and getting really good help. We get to breeze the horses in company, which is really great to have the trainer, in the tack next to you. And then the feedback she can give me before the races is really helpful because she knows her horses so well.
You recently won a race with her at Keeneland. The 2-year-old filly Crack-a-Lack won very impressively. I think you two may be one of a small handful, if not the only ones, to win with an all-women team at Keeneland. What's next for that filly?
It's up to Sarah. I know we're talking about the debutante. I'm leaving that in her hands. From my limited experience with her, starting at Turfway Park together, I won 3 races with her, so I'm already very impressed with her training. So I have no worries about her being able to get a horse ready for the next race.
Well, I was a very big fan of you at Turfway, big fan of you here, but good luck in race number 1, Farron, and good luck with the symposium today as well.
Thank you.
Back up to you, Joe and Scott.
All right, thanks, Caitlin. Thanks to Farron and Dot Morgan, a horse advocate, is at the symposium as well, right next door to where we're at in the Aristides Lounge. And great theme today, and nice to see Farron do so well at Turfway. I know you got to see her ride a little bit, though. A victory at Keeneland, as Caitlin mentioned, and riding in the first race today. Start class for Joe Medley at Churchill Downs.
Yeah, she had a dominant victory. In fact, I spread in that race at 17-1. If I was a better handicapper after it, I would have been very thankful. But yeah, great theme in general here. Wearing the pink, 2 pink outfits in 5 days. I mean, I didn't know I had
That's a record for you.
Oh, I mean, by 1.1, yeah.
No doubt. All right, Scott and I are going to be back in just a little bit. Caitlin, too, with our signature plays for the day. But Travis Stone's got some information you'll want because we are off the turf. So he's got the scratches and the changes. But first, it's Steve Buttleman, the incomparable one, with our national anthem. We'll be right back.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Churchill Downs. Please rise for the national anthem and the telegenic Steve Buttleman.